First of all, I would like to apologize for a cheesy sermon title for today. It will fit a youth group better. God's X-Ray Vision. sci-fi 영화에 그런 거 같죠? X-Ray Vision. And the title reminded me of the Go-Go Power Ranger. I don't know if that was hot here. 미국에서 난리였어요. Power Ranger가 난리였어요. The title is very youthful, it's somewhat childish, but I couldn't resist using that word, X-ray vision. X-ray vision. However, God doesn't only have X-ray vision. He doesn't only see through our clothing and flesh. He sees through everything. Everything. Nothing is hidden from God's view. We can try to hide our inner thoughts from God, but nothing is invisible to God. God sees everything. God sees our motives. God sees our thoughts, our heart. And also, He sees our circumstance and everything else about us. So He understands us completely, totally. That is very assuring, but alarming at the same time. That God can see everything. 제가 여러분들 다 들여다보면서 다 안다고 그래봐요. They will be scared. 영어예배 나가기 싫어. And now let's dive into today's passage. In the Gospel of Luke, I mentioned this a few times. Jesus enters Jerusalem in chapter 19, a couple chapters back. We are on chapter 21 today. And that entering Jerusalem took place on Palm Sunday. And today's incident at the temple took place a couple days later. So this probably was on Tuesday of the Passion Week. This is right before Jesus was captured. He was only a few days away from his crucifixion, and he knew it. So this was a very tense time for Jesus as he taught at the temple every day. Now he was trying to be noticed by this Jerusalem authority to be crucified. And that day, on Tuesday, he was sitting across from the treasury of the temple where people were coming and giving their offerings. And this large gathering area where Jesus was sitting in the temple was the court of women. This was not a court for women, but the name indicates that women could not go further. The court of women was where women could go in and no further. And this was where any Jews, whether female or male, could come in, and this was where most people worshipped. Outside of it will be the court of Gentiles. And according to Mishnah, in the court of women, there were altogether 13 offering chests called trumpets because they looked like a trumpet, narrow on the top and wide on the bottom. And Jesus saw the rich people come and shelling out from their money pouch into these chests. And these men were rich. They were wearing designer suits and 24K gold rings and watches, and their wives, carrying Gucci handbags and wearing Tiffany necklaces. These were rich people. And they poured in the contents of their money pouch. And as they did that, people could hear clunk, 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 clunk. Big coins dropping. And people will go like, wow, what a generous giver. Back then, they didn't have paper money like we do. We give in the same envelope, right? Other people cannot tell if you're giving 1,000 won or 1 million won. Unless you have 1 million won in 만원짜리 or 10만원짜리. If you get the check, 1 million won check, nobody will know. And our offerings don't make any noise. Right? People don't know. We all give the same envelope. Back then, however, they only had coins, and they were noisy. And different value coins made different sounds. People could tell if you were giving gold coins, silver coins, or small copper coins. And whether you were putting in a lot or little, clunk, 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 that was a lot. And people were like, ooh, praise the Lord. Right? And someone put something in, it's like, clink, clink. Ah. People could tell. You know, the rich people walk up and clunk, clunk, clunk. A poor widow walks up, clink, clink. The copper coins in her hands were barely visible. It's very small coin. And as she dropped them into the chest, people could barely hear the clinging of 2 mites falling in. Widows had to dress like a widow. So everybody knew that she was a widow. And she was extremely poor. She was probably on the widow list of the temple, probably getting some kind of financial help from the temple and from others. She was in no position to give voluntary gifts to God or to anybody. As she just said, she gave her livelihood to give the measure 2 mites, 2 copper coins. But that didn't stop her from giving. What a courage. Everybody heard what she gave. And she was following up behind these rich people who were giving. She had no problem following them right up behind them. And she was thankful that she could give even from her desperate situation. She could make sacrifice for some other people who were more unfortunate than she was. And Jesus saw all that. And he valued that more than anything anyone gave that day. Isn't God wonderful? 아니. No, he said she gave more than all the others combined. 다 한 거보다 이 여자 2개 딱 든 게 가장 많이 들어요. Of course, she just knew how much she gave. 2 mites, 2 copper coins, very small. How much is that really today? We don't know for sure. But we could come up with an estimate. And I did some calculation beforehand so that we don't have to do it here. 2 mites were 164th of a denarius, which was a day's wage. And a day's work lasted about 12 hours, 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And we can see this even in Jesus' parable of talents. You know, it goes from 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So 2 mites were worth roughly 0.2 hours of a wage. 0.2 hours of wage. current minimum wage in Korea is 7,531. 아셨어요? Two mites calculated for Korea today would worth about 1,501. And there are other ways to calculate the value. Calculating based on the value of the gold. And they might come up with a different figure, like between 1,001 to 2,001. But the figure I settled on was 1,501. 1,500원. 1,500원. It was not 1,501 of snack money. It was all she had to live on that day. Without this, she had nothing. Absolutely nothing. But she still gave that to God. And Jesus saw that. Jesus saw that she was a widow. He saw that she gave everything from her money pouch. He saw that she had nothing else to live on. And what do you think would have happened to the widow after that? When I was younger, I didn't have any use for money. I could have gone out, and buy some snacks or ice cream or whatever I wanted to get, but I didn't really want anything. So when I got any money, I just gave all. If I get $20, I'll give $20. And I worked for a professor when I was in college, and I didn't know he was going to give that much, and he gave a lot of money. For me, that was like, oh. I just worked for him for a few days, gathering some data and putting it into a database. And he gave me more than $1,000. And I was like, oh, what should I do? What should I do? And I ended up giving it all because it was my first fruit. I never had that kind of job, and I never had that kind of money, being paid to me. So it was the first fruit of that kind. So I said, okay, this is God's first fruit. And I missed that time. I can't do that anymore. I gave all. Wow. That was a powerful time. And I really, really thank God for that time. It was a short period of time, but I gave all. Will I ever get the chance to do that again? Giving all. Because God sees everything. Amen. God sees how much I'm left with. Even though it was a small amount of money, $20. Everybody gave $20. 다 20 bucks 다 헌금하는 거예요. And I gave $20. But my 20 was my all. And that was really, really valuable to God. Because I gave my all. And God takes care of me. God does not see like we do. God does not see the gold coins. He does not hear the clunking of heavy gold coins dropping in the chest. He does not see the thick envelope. He does not count the amount like we do. He sees everything. He sees even the smallest sacrifices we make for him. He sees how important God is in our heart and in our lives. God sees everything. And he receives us as we are. We don't have to give, 100만 원, 1000만 원, 1억. That's not how God calculates what we give to him. It is not the rich who are blessed. When God blesses you materially, you will gain great wealth. But being rich is not an indicator of God's blessing in your life. Rather, the scripture warns those who are trying to become rich. Let's read the passage together. People who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge man into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with great griefs. Do not seek to become wealthy. And this is very, very, very important for our faith. As Paul warned, many have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. Do not pursue worldly riches. If it is in God's will, it will come to you. But don't go after those things. Learn how to be content where you are. Be happy where you are. Give thanks where you are. When we go after those things, when we seek those things, when we pursue the worldly riches, that is idolatry. Do not come before God with a longing for another God, because God sees everything. Jesus made it very clear. You cannot serve both God and money. God cares for you. He will take care of you and your family. Your future is in God's hands. And God had a plan for you when all you cared about was Nintendo Game Boy or Barbie dolls or Lego blocks or trust Him. Entrust your life and your future into His hands. And just live it all to Him. Do not let your heart be clogged with worries of this world regarding your wealth. God sees that. God sees the clog in your heart. God sees the division in your heart. David Headon Lee, he came to our church long time ago, to our old sanctuary times. And he's currently serving as the vice chairman of the board of the directors at World Trade Centers Association. 부이사장, something like that. And God has blessed him amazingly in many, many, many areas. But what is more amazing, I mean, you can watch his testimonies on YouTube. There are many videos up there. You can watch the amazing stories of what God had done through him and all that. But what was really amazing to me was that he does not hesitate to let go of anything and everything that God gave him for God. He doesn't try to hold on to them. He knows when to let it go. When he was selected as a director within the WTCA, the World Trade Center Association, he changed the day they had the meeting on. people would fly in on Friday after their work and rest on Saturday and have meetings on Sunday. And he hated it. He had to go back to his home. He wanted to attend his church, home church. Right? So this was not acceptable to him. So he moved the day to another day, not on Sunday. We will not have a meeting on Sunday. So he will not conduct any meeting on Sunday. Among some other changes that he made. So he refused to conduct meetings on Sundays, and he was fired after 3 days. 얼마나 멋있어요. 멋 없어요? 얼마나 멋있어요. Wow. That's what I'm talking about. But later, God made him the vice chairman. Far higher up in the hierarchy. He now directs the directors. And he's on his second term. And some people say he's going to be the chairman. And also, he was given a distinguished fellowship position from Oxford University. So this is like a professorship, tenure professorship at Oxford University, because you are so good in your field. They want to, just bring you, to their university to teach couple classes. 별로 이렇게 좋은 거라고 생각 안 하시나요? 옥스퍼드 대학을 갔다는 게 아니라 옥스퍼드 대학에서 distinguished fellow로 와달라고. 그냥 professor도 아니고 distinguished fellow로 와달라. It was a tenure professorship for life. So he went, and at the installment service, it is a service, but in the universities, they forbid you from mentioning the name of Jesus. They don't want you to talk about your faith. You can say God. You can say God bless you. Or I don't know if God bless you is acceptable. But, God is acceptable because, they could, each person can, understand it as their own God. I can say God, but the Muslims can understand it as being Allah, right? But you cannot mention the name Jesus, right? And he said, no, I'm not going to do it. In his installment service, he professed his faith in Jesus, so everyone was shocked. And he also invited an Anglican pastor to preach on Jesus, that Jesus is the only way. He asked the pastor, you don't need to talk about anything. You don't need to talk about me. I want you to talk about Jesus. I want you to preach Jesus there. Right? So he preached Jesus, and everybody was stunned. Oh my God, what happened? And it became a big problem, and so he expressed that there was no reason for him to be there if he cannot even talk about Jesus. So he left. He quit. 멋있지 않아요? No. 오늘 뭐가 잘 안 맞네요. After a few years, I checked a recent video that he did a couple months ago, and he mentioned about this and how they're asking him again to come back. You can talk about Jesus if you want. Just come back. Just come back. So he's thinking about going back. He's thinking. 그래도 안 멋있나요? It's awesome. It's awesome. He's making it really clear who his king is. I serve no other God. I serve one king. Jesus is my king. And all the other things, I really don't need it. God sees that. Jesus sees that. And Jesus sees me. The difference in our giving. The difference in the choices that we make. And how God perceives all those gifts that we bring to Him. Jesus sees everything. What would He see in you today? What would He see in your life? Would He see an idol in your heart? Or a steadfast heart that is only after God? Let us not tangled up in the worldly matters. Clear out the clogs in your heart. Let us not serve any other gods. Let us not give our hearts to worldly riches. Let us focus only on God. Let us value our God more than anything, more than being accepted by others or more than being accepted by the influential people of the world. You already know the most influential person, most influential being in the whole universe. Dr. Hee-Dong Lee, he once said that there is a place of success. When you're successful enough, you don't really need a business car anymore. Because everyone you need to know already know who you are. 이 하나님께서 축복해 주셔서 정말 성공하게 되면 비즈니스 카드가 필요 없는. 왜냐하면 내가 알아야 되는 사람은 이미 내가 누군지를 알고 있기 때문에. So they will come up to you and introduce themselves to you. And if they don't know you, you don't have to know that person. If you value Jesus and serve Him as your only master, He will raise you up above everyone else. However, if your heart is divided between God and something else, I'm sorry to say this, but you are on your own. 2 Timothy 2:12, it says, if we endure, we'll also reign with Him. If we disown Him, He will also disown us. Let us pray.